All right, and I am live. And Kat, you sent me a message before I even went live. Hello, my friend. How are you? I am so happy to see you this evening. I know you're getting ready to go do your book club. So you're only, I think, going to be able to be here for like 15 minutes, I think you said, which is totally okay. And I really appreciate that you popped in anyway. So I'm just going to give my quick introduction. So hello, everyone. I am officially live. I hope that you are doing well tonight and that you're interested in doing some reading and productivity sprints. If you're new here, I'm Alex. This is my channel, Frank Fiction. If you are watching live, welcome. If you're watching the recording after the fact, welcome to you as well. Regardless, if you are live or not, I always ask some questions during my live stream, and I love to hear people's answers. So you can go ahead and put your answers either in the chat box or the comment box down below. Doesn't matter when you're watching this. I love everybody's answers anytime. So please feel free to include yours. I am back again today, actually having finished There earlier on today. That was one of my goals for today because I had the day off. And I decided that I was going to go to the library. I was going to get some coffee and I was going to sit down and I was going to finish this book, which I accomplished. So my project for tonight is going to be partially that I'm going to start Alas Away, which I'm really excited about. Still, like, a beautiful cover. Like, this is such a pretty book. But I also have to take some notes in my reading journal. And what's really exciting about this is there is actually the very last slot in this journal. And once I'm done taking my notes, that'll be it. I'll have filled 3 different reading journals and I get to start taking notes in my next one, which is like a book club journal that I got doing like a little event for the library. So I got to pick this out for free and I haven't written in it yet. So I'm really excited about that. So that is my project tonight. This is just a chill time. Sit down, grab a snack, grab a beverage, curl up under a blanket, and get done whatever it is that you want to do tonight. It doesn't have to be reading necessarily, just whatever you are up to. Kat says, I'm currently in the book club meeting, but it will be wrapping up soon. Cool. Well, I hope that you're having fun with that. Hello, Emily. Nice to see you. Emily says, hello, reading A Court of Thorns and Roses and Bloodless Ties by Katie Wismer. Very nice. So how far are you in both of those? And what are your current feelings about them? Did you just start them or are you kind of like somewhere in the middle? And Nicole, I'm so happy to see you. Welcome back. Nicole says, hi, I'm reading All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Yes, one of my favorite books, like a book that I absolutely love to recommend. I hope that you are enjoying it. I don't know how far you are into it yet. If like you're pretty early on, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, I promise. But I loved that book. Anthony Doerr is one of my favorite authors because he's also the one who wrote Cloud Cuckoo Land, which is, like, in my opinion, even better than All the Light We Cannot See. And I thought All the Light We Cannot See is pretty great. So let me know where you are. Hello, Miss Starbuck. So nice to see you. Glad you could pop in. I know you said Friday works a little bit better for you, so I'm glad that you could make it today. And Sabrina, so nice to see you. Thanks for coming. And Sabrina says, I'm just leaving work, but I just finished Iron Flame, and my current read is Manacled. Damion, is it Damioni fanfic? Oh, Dramion fanfic. God, I can't. Maybe I can't read tonight. That would be really bad, wouldn't it? But okay, that sounds fantastic. Be careful getting off of work and heading home because it sounds like you actually are like driving home. So be careful. But I really hope that you enjoyed Iron Flame. I know that you really loved, oh goodness, Fourth Wing, right? Fourth Wing was the first book, and Iron Flame was the second book. You really enjoyed the first one, so I'm hoping that you like the second. Just to tell you a little bit about what's going on with me tonight. So you guys probably saw in my post that I had to do this on Friday for a couple reasons because usually, of course, I do these on Monday. So I'm doing like a funky Friday tonight because I had a leak in my home last Sunday and it happened while I was actually doing Friendsgiving with a couple friends who were staying at my house. And so I had to like call a plumber over and the leak ended up being a $600 fix and it was very stressful. And for those of you, I don't know that I've ever talked about this on my channel, but I work in real estate And one of my biggest fears is anything dealing with water. I find that's probably sounds really funny, but I find water very stressful in a home because it can cause so much damage, and like very little of it can cause a lot of problems. So when I ended up finding out that I had a leak, it was something that I had always worried would happen. And I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary in my home in December. So, like this was like the first problem. And truth, it wasn't even like that big. Like it was a simple issue to fix. It's just hiring any sort of trade professional is very expensive. So it took him a whopping 15 minutes to fix the issue, and it was $600. So I was feeling pretty stressed, and I knew that I had today off. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and do it tonight. So I appreciate that you all decided to tune in tonight instead of like my regularly scheduled programming. Um, I have no idea. Probably I'm going to end up doing one of these again on Monday, unless you all prefer them on Fridays. I could try to figure out a way to work around that. Mondays, I don't know that anybody else usually does streams on Mondays, so it's kind of nice because I don't overlap with anybody. But whatever you all think is best, I can try to figure out a way around that. And Alicia says hello and says, "Hi, Kat. Welcome to my stream. Alicia, I'm so happy to see you." Nicole says, "I'm 120 pages or so, but already recommending it to friends. Brilliantly and beautifully written. It is the November pick for the book club I participate in." Well, your book club picked a good one. So I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. That's awesome that you're already recommending it to people. Miss Starbucks says, "I'm reading A Darker Shade of Magic." Oh, by V.E. Schwab. Very nice. I have yet to read a V.E. Schwab, but I really want to, simply because she has written so many things. Is it she or they? Forgive me. I can't remember her or their pronouns, but very popular author, and I want to pick up some things from them in the future. Sabrina says, "No, I'm safe. Haha, I'm not driving yet. And yes, obsessed with Iron Flame." Well, good. I'm glad that you're safe, and I'm glad that you loved it. Has she already said what the name of the next book is going to be? Because was it like 4 books that were going to be in the series? 5? I know there was quite a few that were predicted, and I'm curious if she's come out with the name of the next one and when that one is supposed to be released. Emily says, "I'm reading the ACOTAR page 293 of 440, and I'm on page 391 of 464 of Bloodless Ties, and I love them both." That's fabulous. And you're like a really good portion of the way through both of those. So if you're really enjoying them right now, I imagine by the end of them, you're still going to be liking them. So that's awesome. And Sabrina says, "I don't blame you. Water's so stressful. I am also in a lot of real estate. Or I also deal with a lot of real estate. So I get it." Yeah. For my job, I've had like a water mitigation events. I've had 2 of them that I've had to deal with, and both of them were like very expensive to remediate. Had to hire contractors and rip up flooring and rip out drywall, rip out cabinetry, like all this stuff. And so imagining anything happening in my home dealing with that is stressful. And yeah, I have like home insurance and stuff like that, which is good. But if you end up having a problem that doesn't meet your deductible, then there's no point of filing a claim. And mine didn't. So, I just eat that cost and just hope that nothing worse happens. So wish me luck. I'm hoping that that was the only problem. And it ended up being actually to the shut off to my, my dishwasher. And so the person who installed the plumbing underneath the sink didn't do it the right way the first time, and that's what caused the leak. And so this fix that I have should mean that I don't have any more issues with it. So fingers crossed about that. Miss Starbucks said, "It's she." Thank you very much for V.E. Schwab. I'm glad you could correct me on that because I could not remember. And Miss Starbucks says, "That's so horrible about the water. I hope not a lot of damage." It wasn't, fortunately. The main thing that I had to deal with, because it was a very slow leak and I didn't see it for, I don't know how long it had been going on, but it warped the board underneath my kitchen sink, and it kind of like bowed it because of how much moisture. And then there was like a little bit of mold growth. But the good news is because it was like a particle board material. One, if I want to fix it myself, like if I want to rip it out and put a new board in, it really shouldn't cost that much to do that. But 2, I don't think that the mold was growing into the board because there's like a veneer that sits on top of it. And I think it was just like surface level, like where the water had been sitting for a while. So I was able to clean it up really good, disinfect everything. I've been watching it. I had a heater out. I was like drying everything under there. And so far it looks really good. So I don't think I have like much of an issue to deal with. I was very lucky. You know, as far as leaks go, you always want something that's small and manageable, right? And Sabrina says 5 books and they aren't announced yet. Oh, that has to be such a nail biter experience to know that it's like, okay, there's 5 books, but I don't know when the next one's going to be out. Though it seems like, was it around the year mark? That can't be right. That she released the second book. How when did the first one come out? Because I remember that being displayed at like one of my local bookstores and them making a big deal about them having it. Didn't that happen earlier this year? It did. Didn't the first one come out earlier this year and she already released the second one? Am I crazy? Maybe I am. I don't know. COVID made me lose track of time. I can't keep up with anything anymore. I try, but sometimes I think that things that happened last year happened this year. I can't tell. Um, to also let you all know about what's going on with my channel right now, I am a little behind, and by a little, I mean a lot, on getting stuff edited and filmed. So I have one video that has been filmed and I need to edit it. I started another one today. I started a vlog actually for finishing there, and then I'm going to continue on into Alassaway. So this is actually going to be part of my vlog too. So woo woo. And then I have another video that I have planned out, but that I haven't filmed yet. And I originally wanted to film that today, but it was raining here all day. And it was super gloomy. And it's like a happy video, like one that I'm really excited to make. And I didn't want the lighting to be terrible for that. So I'm going to wait until there's like a brighter, sunnier day when I can film it and like feel awake and present and alive to film that. But it's one I'm really excited about. So hopefully gonna have some good things coming out for you all soon. But I also really enjoy doing these live shows. So it's cool that everybody just wants to come and hang out and read for a little while. I do plan for the first sprint to be for about 30 minutes. That's usually, you know, the time limit that we have here. But if you end up wanting to do any more than that or any less than that, feel free to let me know. Miss Starbucks says The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue from Schwab. I can't recommend it enough. I believe you told me in another live that you really love that one. And so because that one isn't part of a series, it's a standalone novel, that probably would be a really good one for me to begin with because her other ones I think are part of like box sets. They're all beautiful though. Like all of her books that I've seen have like really cool covers and they all have premises that sound great. So I'll definitely need to pick that up because I also have some friends that have said how much they love that book as well. And Sabrina says first one was in May. Two was in November, so she was writing them very quickly. Okay, good. I'm not going crazy. It was earlier this year that the first one came out. And then that is very fast, especially because those are thick. Those are chunky books for her to have written. Like 2 of those to release in a year, like that's more than like Stephen King. He writes a book every 6 months. That's crazy. Hey, Robert. Very nice to see you. And Robert says, at Miss Starbuck, Addie LaRue, 5 stars. Okay, perfect. So I got another recommendation for that. And Miss Starbuck says, definitely, Robert. And Sabrina says, it's so stressful. I have 2 vlogs filmed, but I just have not had time to edit with my actual job. And I've just been like so stressed out about it. And I have so many video concepts that I want to do. My friend, let me tell you, I am in the same boat as you. I empathize with you completely. I also have like a massive list of stuff that I want to do. And I got pretty bummed out earlier on this month because there was one that I like a video concept I thought about way too late and I didn't realize it until it was too late in the year to do it. So I have to like push it off until next year. And it's hard. It is really hard to plan stuff when, you know, doing YouTube is not your full-time job. You do it as a hobby, you're doing it for fun. And that's the main thing that I have to try to remember is like, if it becomes a slog, it's not fun anymore and like there's not a point to do it, right? So make sure that you take those breaks. It's okay if you can't post things regularly. It's not a big deal. And your viewers are still going to be there. They're still going to come and they're still going to watch. I mean, you all are lovely and you come and hang out with me in these sessions, you know, even when I didn't post a video this week. And I know that, and I'm doing my best to be kind to myself, and I want you to be kind to yourself as well. Sabrina says, but sadly, I won't be posting this week because I just don't have anything edited and it makes me sad. totally understand. It's okay to feel that way. But I hope that you will take that time so that you're not burnout, because being burnout is so much worse, because then you not only are sad like when you can't get stuff out, but you're sad or stressed out filming it too. And I don't want that to happen to you. I've even felt that way a little bit lately. Like I'll go to film and I'll feel like it's so hard for me to talk. Like I get what I call mush mouth. Like I've heard other people say that term before, but it's where I'll know what I wanna say, and then I start talking and my words blur together, and I have to say it multiple times until finally I can say it right, and then by then, sometimes I get, like, frustrated, and I have to, like, take a second, and I have to, like, calm down, and it can be frustrating, when you're just, you're just trying to film and you're just trying to get something done. That was one of the things I really appreciated with Kat and her live that she did on Wednesday, is she was talking about how long it can take her to film, and it made me feel better because I thought I took forever to film a video, and it turns out it's just a common thing. You got to take your time, otherwise you're not, putting out the content that you really want. You're like rushing, right? So you don't want to do that. But anyway, sorry, I'm not trying to preach at anybody. I just am like very empathetic to what you're dealing with. Hey, Cherry Cheetah, how are you? You said just here to say hi. It's 11 p.m. in this time zone. Well, I'm very happy to see you. And Cherry Cheetah, I actually mentioned you in a video that I have to edit. It's the one for the Only Good Indians. And I mentioned in there how you tried to warn me about the animal violence in it, and it was just too late. Like I had already started the book, but you are a true pal for trying to tell me, and I appreciate that because I give that warning in my video as well. And Sabrina says her villain duology was absolutely amazing, and I do remember you talking about that one. 'Cause I think I might have commented on your video that I needed to pick up V.E. Schwab. And Miss Starbucks says, true, videos will have such a different energy when you're making it while having fun instead of doing it, and it's a must, and the fun is gone. Yeah, totally agree with that. Absolutely, 100%. And want you all to be able to like get started on your projects tonight. I know I am certainly excited as well. If you're interested in me telling you some thoughts about there, I am happy to do that after we do our first reading sprint as well. I will say I get a little nervous talking about books like this simply because I feel like with my background being white as white can be, that I'm not going to end up doing books like this justice. I want to be very respectful to the source material and to the author, so I would do my absolute best in like explaining anything about this. But I also know that I'm not probably the best person to explain things from a story like this, but I would certainly try if you end up wanting me to talk about this. Otherwise, I'll save it for my vlog because it's in part of it, at least part of my thoughts are in my vlog as well. And Robert says, I'm reading Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke, by the way. Horror. Very nice. How far are you into that, Robert? Let me know. And if you're enjoying it so far. So I'll go ahead and get started, everybody. I got this beautiful book to crack open, but first I got to take off the cover because any of you who saw that video about my reading habits know that I don't leave these on because I'm like very protective of them. But I will see you all in a little bit. All right, everybody. Come on back. Let me know how you're doing tonight. Where are you at? I did officially start a lasso away. Also, I don't think I showed you. This is what it looks like with the cover off. So this is really cool. The back doesn't have anything on it, but I really like the front. Also, the illustrations in here are gorgeous. They're gorgeous, darling. They're gorgeous. But I really like these. They're so pretty. And I've started tabbing it already. So right now my 3 colors of tabs are ghosts, funny, and murderer. What a set of tabs, right? But in this book, for A Lasso Away, she has the ability to raise the spirits of animals. And I think hypothetically, she could also raise the spirit of a person, but she's forbidden from doing so. So she has a dog companion that was her her friend while she was growing up, and then her dog died, and that's how she was able to find out that she could raise him. And now he's a spirit dog that comes along with her everywhere, and his name is Kirby. And our main character, of course, is named Alasaway, but she goes by Ellie. And I'm really liking the writing style so far. I think that it's really nice. It doesn't feel like super YA. Like I know that it's a YA book, but I'm curious to see like how the writing style continues. But I'm liking it so far. I asked everybody a question, which is what fast food restaurant is your Achilles heel? I thought about this the other day because I am an extremely food motivated person. I don't think I've ever mentioned that, but like everything dealing with my YouTube channel, even. So when I started this, Keaton and I, like, we would set goals for what number of subscribers I would reach, and I would like get to pick a place that we went out to eat. So I got one at 100 subscribers. I did it at 250, and then I just recently hit 500 subscribers. And my 500 subscriber meal is going to be going out to Jersey Mike's, though that is not my answer for my favorite fast food place. I'm just mentioning it, but he's never been to Jersey Mike's, which is like a really, really good sub shop. And my favorite order there is a big kahuna. It's like a cheesesteak, but with Chipotle mayo. It's amazing, and they make like these giant subs. So I'm hoping to get one of those this weekend. But I'll tell you my fast food pick very soon. Miss Starbucks said really quick, I take my covers off as well. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Kat says, is Panera considered fast food? I think because they have a drive-through, you can consider it to be fast food. Yes. So if that is that your pick? Because I also like Panera a lot. My favorite thing to get there is like the soup and sandwich, like half and half. And when it's in season to have French onion, I would get it in a bread bowl, and then I'll get like a turkey, smoked turkey sandwich on the side. But the bread bowls are my favorite, but only with the French onion soup. Hi, Ron. Happy to see you. You said hello. Oh, reading. Shh. Well, you don't have to shh anymore. So tell me what your favorite food is, your favorite fast food restaurant. Robert says his is Habit Burger and Five Guys. Now, Five Guys we have here. Habit Burger we do not. So do they have like a specialty burger? Like they have their own kind of sauce, or is it like is the experience, the dining experience, unique in any way? Because I know with Five Guys, you can go there and you can get like any topping that you want on your burger. You can just load it up, right? So tell me a little bit about Habit Burger because I love burgers. And Nicole says Arby's. And I also agree, Arby's is really great. They have my favorite mozzarella sticks. One of the funniest things that Keaton told me early on when we were dating each other is that I think it was like his very first job was working at an Arby's. And the entire time he worked there, he never tried their mozzarella sticks. Can you believe that? And they are like my favorite. So I got to take him to an Arby's and get the mozz sticks and with their marinara and give it to him. And he was like, these are fantastic. I can't believe I never had these. It's like, yeah, you were missing out that whole time. I can't believe you worked there. I thought it was really funny. Ron says, Ravina Kai, great artist. Oh, yes. Yeah, talking about in Alasaway. Yeah. I don't think that I had ever seen her work before, but I'm extremely impressed by it. It looks like it's all done with like pencil sketches, so I'm going to want to look her up later for sure. And Kat says, I attended such a great book club meeting. Yay! The Cozy Cottage Book Club chose Little House in the Big Woods. I remember you talking about that from your live on Wednesday. You said, and Laura Ingalls Gunn, a relative of Laura Ingalls Wilder, joined us. So special. That is fantastic. So, is your book club, I'm guessing the way that you talked about it, it's virtual. Is it hosted by somebody in the booktube community, or is it something that's actually done locally where you live, like through the library or something like that? I don't think you mentioned that in your live, but if you did, I probably didn't catch that, but I would love to know. And Miss Starbucks said, "Oh wow, that's so cool, Kat." And that is, it's really special. And Nicole said, "Jersey Mike's is my favorite sub place. That rosemary parm bread. I'll have to try that. I actually make a really mean rosemary bread myself. Like, you know, you take the time and you double proof it and you bake it. And that's actually one of the things I'm making for Thanksgiving with my family this year. Is my mom requested that I make bread, and so I'm actually trying a new one this year that I haven't done before, and it's a pull apart bread where you like take the dough and you let it rise and proof and everything, and then you cut it into like little balls and you roll them out and you slather them in your butter. And then you basically pack them together, put them in the tray that you're going to bake them in, and bake them that way. And so the butter is baked in between the bread. And so you can just like pull off slices of it and eat it. I love to bake. So I'm really excited about that. But Jersey Mike's is the bomb. And so I love that you love Jersey Mike's. And Kat says, I love Panera bread, but I don't get it often because it's not in my town. It's probably about 30 minutes away. That is a huge bummer when you love something and it's not nearby. I can completely relate to that because my favorite place, and I'll tell you at the end before we do our next bout of reading sprints, but my favorite place is in my neighboring town, which is about 20 minutes away as well, which is also probably a good thing because my favorite place is very bad for you. Not, I mean, you could argue Panera, you know, all those carbs, but I love bread. And I think that they have relatively healthy things. You know, you can get salads there and stuff. My place, no, it's just straight bad for you. And Ron says, I'm not a fast food guy. Closest thing for me is the taco truck in town. Well, at least you buy local. Like, that's cool if you have a place that just sets up a taco stand and you can go get those. But no, I fully support not being a huge fan of fast food because it like ruins your gut microbiome. But there's sometimes, I'll tell you what, I just want to eat bad because it's quick and it's easy. Cherry Cheetah says, I don't have one specific place I like to order from, but from those I order from, I always get the same thing and barely order anything new. 110% agree with you. I am a creature of habit. And fun fact, that's also usually a sign that you're an introvert. I'm sure that that's not true for some people, but I'd be very curious to hear, are you an introvert because you order the same thing all the time? I'd love to know. And I see some of the answers are actually coming in twice here. I'm not sure if that's because of a glitch with the system or what, but that's okay. Robert says the Santa Barbara char burger filled with avocado and served on toasted sourdough bread. Now that, oh God, that sounds like heaven to me. You just named so many wonderful things: char burger, avocado, and sourdough bread. I love all of them. Habit burger goodness. Well, now I'm jealous. Thank you very much. Now I'm sad. Miss Starbucks says I don't have a specific fast food place actually. I go here and there, haha. But my favorite food is pizza. Okay, what do you get on your pizza? I'm one of those people that I love a lot of different things on my pizza. I have like very few things that I'm like, please leave that off. But one of my like more random things that I love on pizza is actually artichoke hearts. Not everybody likes those. Also, I can't eat anchovies. My dad introduced me to those when I was like a teenager, and I was like, "Oh, these are good." I almost never eat them. Like I haven't had them on a pizza in forever, but if they were on there, I would eat them. Cherry Cheetah said introvert 100%. I also have OCD. Well, you and me, two peas in a pod, my friend, because I also have been diagnosed with OCD. So totally am there with you. Now it's my turn to tell you what my place is. I also have to show you something because you're going to probably think this is funny. So I went to a local bookstore, and because I'm not allowed to buy books, I like will try to get around the rule by buying like accessory things, to still be able to support local. And one of my local bookstores has the do the damn thing with these little scratch off circles. And so, like, once you reach a goal, if I can point in the right direction there we go. Once you reach a goal, you get to like obtain that thing. So, right now, I'm doing one for live stream. So, this is my fourth live stream that I'm doing, and I get my first goal thing at 5. And so mine is to go to my favorite fast food place, which is White Castle. And I might have just gotten like a ton of groans on on this live. I have no idea, but I unironically love White Castle. I love those little sliders, and I recently just learned how they made them. There's like a chef on Instagram I saw that he was like recreating how to make like the perfect White Castle slider. They're just so delicious, but they are horrible for you. Horrible for you. So it's good that I can't get them all the time, but I will be getting them either after Monday or whenever my next live stream is. But I'm very excited about it. And Kat says, I love pepperoni pizza and BLT pizza. I have never had a BLT pizza, but I'm also one of those weirdos that does not like bacon on everything. I don't know what it is. If I have like too much bacon, it might be the grease. It might be like the fattiness of the meat. I'm not sure. Bacon and I like it in very small doses, but not on most things. And I don't think I would eat it on pizza. But I'm glad that you like it. Miss Starbucks says, I love all kinds of pizza, but my favorite is quattro formaggi, so 4 cheese. Nice. I love cheese so much. I also love cheese, a whole bunch. Though there are some cheeses that I don't really get along with. Like I don't like blue cheese at all. And like some of the harder cheeses, I'm not a big fan of like like smelly cheeses, but I love soft cheese. Like pretty much any soft cheese, brie, Colby, like a sometimes like a cheddar, mozzarella, Munster cheese, like all of those things, all delicious. I will consume it if you put it in front of me. Queso, yes. Alicia says, I don't have a favorite fast food place, but my weakness is Indian and Mexican. I also love Indian and Mexican food. I just love food in general. Like, I love food. It's one of the reasons why I came up with this question. So, what is your order at an Indian or a Mexican restaurant? Mine for an Indian restaurant, funny enough. Okay. So, for my first 100 subscribers, I chose to go to my favorite Indian restaurant. Like that was my first place that I picked, and I took Keaton there. And I always get paneer tikka masala. So it's tikka masala with like a goat cheese. So that's the protein instead of like chicken, which I love. And then, that delicious jasmine rice. So that's mine. And then when I go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm a big fan of like a chimichanga. Usually I'm going to get like a ground beef chimichanga. And as long as it's like slathered in queso, I'm a very happy camper. So, and I love rice. Like when I was a kid, going to a Mexican restaurant with my mom every like Sunday, we would pretty much go to like this one Mexican restaurant, and half the time I would just order a big plate of rice and I would pour queso on that, and that would be my meal. I was a heathen of a child, but I was also living deliciously, so don't mind me. Kat says, I'm starting 2 books this weekend. Dang, you're like, yeah, gung ho. Anne of the Island by Ellen Montgomery and Life in Five Senses by Gretchen Rubin. I have not heard of either of those, but I hope that you love them. Robert says White Castle unsubscribed murder burgers. I know. I really really love White Castle. They're not they're not good for you. They will destroy your stomach. But that's why I don't eat them all the time. Kat says, I've never eaten White Castle. And that's fair. The best way to describe them for those of you who've never eaten at a White Castle is like there's the itty bitty little sliders, and they have like a very thin beef patty, and they have onion on them, and you can get different cheeses. My favorite is to get the jalapeno cheese, and then it comes on like a really soft bun. And the reason that like the bun is so soft is because when they cook it, they actually lay the bun on top of the patty and lean like the top bun against it when the onions are cooking, and the onions are like rehydrated onions, and so like all the steam and everything like penetrates the bun. And usually I'm somebody that like you give me any form of like soggy bread, I find that disgusting, but this isn't like soggy bread. It's like flavorful, like saturated bread. And it just like itty bitty little sliders, terrible for you. And I love them. Ron says, I actually wish I could try White Castle. A friend who went to college where it exists said it was the best late night food. It really is. And you know what's hilarious is White Castle has like a cult following. I am not a cult follower of White Castle. Okay. Like I love other things, but I think they're delicious. And on their sliders, when you get them, they will tell stories of like the insane things that people will do in order to get White Castle. And like there are literally people who will like move to another state where there's not White Castle, and they'll just take trips to go like, 600 miles or whatever, and go and get White Castle and take it home, and they'll write in to White Castle about their experiences, and they actually post those on the little slider boxes. So Keaton and I, whenever we get them, we've gone there twice in our relationship. I get a third time soon. I always end up reading the little blurbs, and they're pretty unique. And Kat says, "Alicia, kissy face." Um, and Alicia says, "Hi, Kat. I think you were at the book club earlier when I popped in." Man, these comments really are doubling. I have no idea what's going on. Very strange. Miss Starbucks says, I love them all. Also, blue cheese and the smelly ones. Very fair. Then you are more of a cheese lover than me, my friend. You win. Alicia says, tikka masala is so good. I usually take advantage of the buffet because I want everything. Very fair. That's awesome. Especially if you go at lunchtime. I think lunches usually have the buffets. And Alicia says, surely you've had crystals at Cat. And Kat says, yeah, that is our crystals. And Miss Starbucks says, we don't even have White Castle here in the Netherlands. Yeah, well, maybe one of bricks. Yeah, fair. Well, you know what? White Castle is so weird. Like fan base is so strange that years ago, I don't know if they still have them. White Castle actually created a candle that looked like a slider and smelled like a slider when you burned it. But really, that's no weirder than like KFC. Did you ever see Kentucky Fried Chicken created logs that it was like a limited run thing? It only happened 1 year, but they created fireplace logs that if you bought them and you burned them, it would make your house smell like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Marketing people, I'm telling you, they come up with some wild stuff. And Kat says, although I haven't had crystals since being a teenager, not sure if they still exist, at least not in Hammond. Fair. But yeah, thank you for answering my my weird restaurant fast food question. And Miss Starbucks says, "Oh dear, don't eat the candle." I never would, and I never bought it. Like I didn't buy the candle. I don't want my house to smell like sliders if I can't actually eat them. I don't know if the gimmick is supposed to be you burn it and then you want White Castle, so then you go and you buy more sliders. But I would find it very disturbing to be burning a candle that smells like food I'm not eating. So I'm not gonna get that, but I did think it was very funny when I was a kid and they had that. My next question, I'll put this up for you all so you can answer it, but I'll wait until after we do our next sprint in order to read out the answers. But it's going to be, what are some gags you wish authors would quit doing? And I wanted to kind of explain this one. So it would be examples of like having a fake out death, like somewhere in the book, and then a character like miraculously comes back and they never actually died, or something like unrealistic injuries, character gets hurt, they're like shot, they got stabbed, they're bleeding, and but they're still like running around everywhere, able to do things like they weren't injured at all. Let me know what your least favorite author gags are. And with that, I'm also going to start the next set of sprints. So we've got another 30 minutes on the clock here, and I will see you all in a little bit. All right, everybody. You can come on back. Let me know how you are currently progressing. I am 38 pages into A Lasso Away. Right now, I think it's really adorable. I like some of the things that are being introduced in here. This is also, as you can probably imagine, the most lighthearted of the books that I have selected for Indigenous Heritage Month in the US, because my first one was The Only Good Indians, which was like a very dark horror novel. And then I read There, which is like a mixture of like literary and political fiction, which also had some hard hitting elements. This is about a young girl who can raise ghosts, who's going to try to solve the murder of her cousin. And you would think that that sounds like a really like dark and gloomy sort of story, but actually she's taking it in good spirits. And a lot of like the world mechanics and stuff are being introduced early on. So like we know, for example, that like certain monsters are real. Like we're just meeting a character right now who has vampirism. He has the vampire curse, as they refer to it in here. But what's funny about it is the vampire curse doesn't like make people immortal. The average life expectancy of somebody with the curse is about 92 years, so they'll live a long life, but of course they're not immortal. But like as the curse progresses, there's more drawbacks, and they have to like consume fresh blood from people, but early on they're able to buy like blood packs at these centers, almost like going to the American Red Cross and just like buying a blood pack to drink, which I think is really interesting, and a way to create these characters. And I like that um, Ellie's powers actually come like from her family. So it's like a generational thing. I think that runs in the women in her family, that they're able to raise ghosts, but her mom has to work like really hard at it. Like she has to be in super deep meditation in order to bring a ghost back. But Ellie seems to have a natural gift for it, like her sixth great grandmother, which I think means her great grandmother, like times six. So somebody that she never met, but like she's heard all of these tales about. So we got to like hear one of the tales of her adventures, and so far it's just sweet. It's lighthearted. I think this is going to be cute. My friend Dylan, who read this, did kind of describe it to me almost as if it was like Scooby Doo. Like if you had Velma and Scooby, and then like some other people that are kind of helping them out. But one of the things I found really surprising early on in this story is, because magic is so prevalent in this world, and Ellie has this gift, and her like family and her friends all know that she has this gift. When she is explaining to her dad that her cousin who was murdered came to her in a dream, and that the same thing happened to her sixth great grandmother, her dad looked at her and was like, "Yeah, I believe you." When does that ever happen in young adult fiction? Usually, like, they don't have any sort of support, but here's this 17-year-old being like, "Yeah, I know my cousin was murdered. We're going to give the police a chance to do the right thing and find the murderer, but if they don't do it, then I'm going to do it myself." I think that's cute. I think that's really cool, like to be, have characters be supported by the adults in their life, because I don't think that we really see that enough. But another thing is that I thought was really funny is she talks about wanting to be a PI, which of course to us would be a private investigator, right? But in this world, it's normal to become a paranormal investigator. And she talks about how if she can't become a paranormal investigator, that she wants to become a paleontologist, because she wants to be able to raise the ghosts of the dinosaurs. And she's like, "Yeah, I've never tried to raise the spirit of an extinct species before, so I'm going to need to practice that." It's charming. It's really charming. So far, I'm really liking this. But I did end up asking the question of, what are some of gags that authors incorporate into their writing that you wish that they would quit doing? So going back up here, Kat says, "Tough question. Didn't know my author was including gags." And Miss Starbucks says, "An open ending where you need to fill it in yourself and still have a lot of questions." I really dislike that. I can relate to that, because some books, an open ending almost feels required in a way, like it makes sense for the story. But most books, I also like there to be a definite understanding of like, this is what happens, this is where our characters are going. I don't like stories where things aren't explained and they don't make sense. I mean, it's okay if it's a series because then you can expect it to be explained later in the series. But if it's a standalone book and you finish it and you go, what? I also have a hard time with that. Cherry Cheetah says, I really don't like when the author wants to introduce an event, usually tragic event, from characters' past and does it through a dream. And the dream is always a perfect recreation of said event. That is okay. I didn't even think about that, but that is a great example. So yeah, I would argue it could be the same for flashbacks, because characters can enter a flashback and then we enter this whole sequence in the book of them recreating everything perfectly in their mind and telling us about it. And then all of a sudden, like, oop, gonna snap back to the present, almost like they were usually it's some sequence where they're like sitting down in like an office or talking to somebody and something triggers their memory and they're in mid conversation with this person and that's what brings them back, right? That this person they're talking to or supposed to be listening to is like, are you okay? They're like, huh? What? Yeah, I'm fine. And then, you go about the rest of the novel. I agree with that. So, dream sequence, tragic backstory. I like that one. That's really good. And Sherry says, anyway, good night and happy reading. And happy reading to you. And also a good night. It was very late there. Kat says, I have to hop off for a moment to drive over to my mother in law's for dinner. Well, I hope dinner is delicious. And Robert says, Edge of Collapse by Kyla Stone. EMP hits, and Hannah, 7 months pregnant, walk through deep snow for miles trying to escape the guy that locked her in a cage. Deep snow, miles and miles of walking. Yeah, I would also hate that because I've walked in snow before. I live in an area that gets a lot of snow, and I could tell you that like my legs go numb pretty quickly. And I'm somebody that is used to being in cold weather. 7 months pregnant, walking through deep snow for miles, no. I think that that was one of the really good sequences in Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. They enter a timeline where Earth entered some sort of devastating, catastrophic snow event. Like basically, the whole planet got frozen over, and they have to exit their vehicle, if you will, to get to the other dimensions and try to go see like what's going on with society. And they're attempting to get to this house, and both of the characters almost die because of how cold it is and like how ill prepared they are walking through it. And I think that that is far more realistic. So yes, that would irritate the crap out of me. That's a good example, Robert. And hey, Alex, it's nice to see you. Alex from Alex Black Reads. And she says, I made it to page 116. The writing style isn't my vibe, but I do love the characters and story. Which did I miss your comment about what you're reading, Alex? Because I don't see that on here. Please let me know what book it is that you were reading tonight. And if I missed it, I'm very sorry. Miss Starbucks says 42 pages read these 2 sessions. It's really exciting. Woohoo! That's fabulous. I love that for you. Ron says, I've done almost 2 full chapters of Northwoods by Daniel Mason, a book that follows a piece of land in Massachusetts and the people who lived on it through history. Very cool. So I hope that you are enjoying it then. And Ron says, oh, cliffhanger endings in a series, not a huge fan. So, my question about that is, does it irritate you when there's a cliffhanger ending to get to the next book, or if the series as a whole ends on a cliffhanger? And the answer to that might be both, right? Like, you don't want a series to end on a cliffhanger, but that's always the way that they get you with something that's in a series, especially I think with fantasy stories, is they always have to end on some like climactic event. It's like something happens and then immediately it's almost like the book ends like right after that. Like they can't tell you any other backstory or how the characters are. It's like event happened, bam, next book, and that's it. At least I seem to find that that's the case, probably more for speculative fiction. So that'd be like sci-fi and fantasy. And Alicia says, I don't like it when something set in our world just goes cosmic out of nowhere. I do like cosmic, but I want to know that's where it's going when I get into it. Okay. So when you say goes cosmic out of nowhere, do you have an example like of a book that you read where that happened? Because I'd really like to know if you have an example. So I'm guessing you want to know when you get into a book that it's something that either has like science fiction elements or has some sort of fantasy element, not a book that you're getting into where you're like, oh, this takes place, in our world, or like you think it's literary fiction. It's like, oh, suddenly it's like this is a fantastical world and something's gone crazy. Am I understanding that correctly? Let me know. Miss Starbuck says, I had it with a series, but it was the last book, book one and two. Awesome. 5 stars. But the last book, the ending, so much unexplained, like so many questions unanswered. And the last book, horrible. Oh, that would just gut me. Yeah. If you love the first 2 books in a series and then you get to the last book and it just leaves so much out there, I don't want to say that it's due to author laziness because I don't think that that's true. I think it more so has to do sometimes authors I feel don't know how to end their creations. Like they know that they want this to be their last book, but they don't know how to actually finish it, so they have to kind of give the characters that open ending. To me, it almost seems like maybe they want enough to be open that if they ever decided to write more that they could. Does that make sense? Like that's at least the vibe that I get sometimes. Is like they just want that option like to bring it back if they ever want to, which isn't great for the readers at all. And Alex says, I hate fake love triangles. Alex, yes, like a well-developed love triangle with a conflicted main character is fine. I hate the ones where the main character has an obvious love interest and the second one just exists. That is so true. I agree with you 110%. I am somebody that one of my big pet peeves in books not only is a love triangle like the one that you're talking about, it's like fake and it's like, oh, we know exactly which person they're going to pick, so this is completely pointless. But I also hate when in books 2 characters being in close proximity to one another automatically means that they have to be in a romantic relationship. That irritates me. Like I love a good friendship in a book. I feel like we don't get that enough because like everything has to be turned into a romance, and I'm not a fan of that. It's like romance can be cute. Like I do enjoy it. It's not like I'm anti romance in my books, but not everything has to be one. Like let's just have some like solid friendships. Like let's have more of that, please. And Alex says, but it still gets treated like a love triangle. Yeah, totally agree with you. Miss Starbuck says, still gave it 4 stars, though the last book. Well, that's high praise if it ended up kind of ruining the ending for you that you still gave it 4. So that's impressive. You say because the writing overall was great. All was great, just not the last chapter. Oh, gosh, that's such a bummer. I'm sorry. What series was that? What series was it that left you out there? I want to know. Rod says cliffhangers between books. I've never seen a series end on one. That would be silly. Well, apparently Miss Starbuck has one that ended on a cliffhanger, and I want to know which one it was. So please let me know. But yeah, I would definitely say the whole like the love triangle thing was one actually I was going to bring up, but Alex said it a lot better than me. The forced romance is irritating, and then the other 2 that I put in here as examples are ones that I also really don't like. I hate fake out deaths and I hate unrealistic injuries. Fake out deaths I can see coming from a mile away. Like if you don't, it's like in a movie, right? If you don't see the character die on screen, they're probably not dead. Like if you're not checking for a pulse and we're not having a funeral for them, I don't believe that they're actually gone. Period. Like they could come back. And I dislike that. But I've read a lot of books with unrealistic injuries, and that I do always find irritating. It happens a lot in fantasy, but it can also happen in really any sort of like action packed adventure. It can happen in sci fi, it can happen in horror. I find that horror is probably more guilty of that than a lot of other genres simply because you usually have something gruesome and terrible happening to a character. I'll give 11/22/63 as an example. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to tell you that there is a character in there who suffers a very traumatic brain injury, and has like many internal injuries, including like broken bones and like lacerations. Okay. There's a character that experiences those things. And they end up going to physical therapy and they're like working through them, but they still have a lot of problems, like a long way yet to go. Well, guess what? They have to go on an adventure where they have to go in this building and climb all these stairs and like dive away from bullets and things. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, please, like this person, if I had that happen to me and I was in this situation, I don't think I would really be able to walk, let alone like try to race up like flights and flights of stairs. And then on top of that, they were with somebody who smokes regularly, and the person who smoked regularly was behind them, like couldn't keep up with them. This person with all of these traumatic injuries, and I'm like, I no, no, I don't believe that at all. That was something that I did kind of eye roll at in that book. Miss Starbucks says it's the Lilith trilogy from Kim Ten Tushter, Tushter, maybe. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one, but thank you for providing an example. And Alex says, I also hate when there's a big war, dangerous event, but the important characters are safe. I kind of felt that with Lord of the Rings. It lowers the stakes for me. I want to genuinely fear for the characters. I also relate to that a lot. It's one of the reasons why I generally don't enjoy young adult fiction, specifically young adult fantasy, is because I know usually the stakes are a lot lower because our main character is usually going to always prevail. Throne of Glass was a perfect example of this for me. That their romance interest is probably always going to survive. You know, it's like, where is the stake? Where is the person who's just like tragically doomed to death? And like, why can't that be our main character? Like, I think it would actually be really interesting to have a series where you go and the first book, the main character dies, and then the next book is like picked up by somebody else, you know, and it's like they can't come back. Like that person is just, they're just gone. That was actually one of the things I really liked in Game of Thrones. If y'all read A Song of Ice and Fire, the first book, it seems like Ned Stark, lovely Ned Stark, love him. God, I hope I'm not spoiling anything. That series has been out for forever, including the TV show. So if you haven't, if you don't know, I'm sorry. Just like cover your ears for a moment. But Ned Stark, you know, he comes across as being the main character, and then he gets decapitated. And then the book ends up having to be picked up by other characters, and then you realize that like there is no main character for Game of Thrones. You know, it's kind of just like all of these different branching webs of stories and how they ultimately collide together. And I thought that that was really good. And I think Game of Thrones had a lot of stakes because so many freaking people died. So, you know, Alex, I'm with you. I need stakes. I need to know that people can actually be injured or killed. Miss Starbuck says, Bound in Darkness, Broken in Twilight, Born in Light is what they're called. She's a Dutch fantasy author. Okay, very cool. That might explain why I hadn't heard of them, but I'm sure there's probably translations, especially if they were popular. I'll have to check. They are. Yeah, thank you. Hi, Kat. Welcome back. Kat, did you have any like gags that you wish authors would quit doing? I'm curious. I also want to know for you all, what is the next like length of sprint that you would prefer? Do you want to do another 30-minute sprint? Do you want to do a 45-minute sprint? What are we thinking about? Please tell me. And Alicia says the Game of Thrones books are so good. They really are. I will say though, I was one of those people that got really frustrated that George R. R. Martin never finished the original series and he started writing like all of the extra, you know, backstory books of like the history prior, and you know they made the TV show to talk about the series before. I'm pretty sure I didn't get into any of that because I was like, if you can't give me the official ending of the book series, I don't want to read any of these other ones. But people say that they're good. That's the thing. Like huge fans, they go and they read the other ones that are the extra books, and they apparently really like them. So, you know, I guess if I tried them, I probably would like them. Nicole says 45. Okay. Might be able to do a 45-minute one here in a moment. Thank you for that, Nicole. Alex says, have you read the Expanse series? Girl, Girl, I've read Leviathan Wakes. I have Caliban's War. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But she says it wasn't totally like Murder Sean Bean vibes, but it did get pretty dark from book one. I completely agree with that. I really enjoyed that first book, and that is the reason why I got the second one. I talk about this a little bit. God, I can't even remember what video it was, but I talk about how I have difficulty with series, particularly long series. Like if you're talking about a duology, not a problem because I read, oh gosh, excuse me. I just read them. A Desolation Called Peace is the second one. Oh, A Memory Called Empire. My goodness. The Teeks Gawan duology. I just read those, loved them, thought they were fantastic. When you're talking about like multiple book, like 10 book series, I can sometimes like kind of fall off the bandwagon of that. I didn't as much with Game of Thrones, but I was like sucked into that in like a very special way that I'm normally not with a book series. But I convinced Keaton to pick that up with me because I have a digital copy and a physical copy, so we can actually both read them at the same time. And he's been taking my recommendations very seriously lately, which he read The Green Mile, everybody. He read it, he finished it, it broke his heart. He loved it, and I was like, yes! And it was his very first Stephen King novel, too. So I was really proud of that. And now he's reading The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot, which I did that video. I did like a whole review of that, and he's like loving that too. So I think he'll end up reading The Expanse with me. And when I start that again, okay, I'm saying it right now because I have to commit to it. When I start the Expanse series again, I am going to read all of them, even if they're not back to back. I'm going to like make sure that they're all very close together so I can keep track of what's going on. Thank you for asking me, Alex, because yes, I do want to read those. Alicia said, same. I want the final books. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you can't finish the original series, why are you writing all this extra stuff? And I honestly think it's because the way the TV show went. I did see an interview with George R. R. Martin, and he was like, well, you know, if I could go back and rewrite the books, I'd make it pretty much in the way that the show did. And I'm like, but you didn't write the books that way. The books were so different from the show. Does that mean that we just don't get anything now? It sucks. Hate that. Kat says, I can't think of any right off the bat, maybe because I haven't read a book with one recently. Very fair. No problem at all. And she's laughing. That's totally good. Robert says, we will never see Winds of Winter. Oh, was that supposed to be the name of the last book? Actually, would have been a really good name, too. Dang you, George R. R. Martin. Alex says, same, though, LOL, I love Leviathan Wakes and own half the series, but haven't continued. RIP. You know what? Maybe I should start like a sci-fi book club, and the Expanse series be like the first round. That would be fun. Miss Starbucks says, I can't make the full 45 minutes, so I'm going now. It's 1 p.m. here. Well, I'm so happy that you stopped by. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you later. So when the clock begins, I will go. Okay, sounds good. I'll try to be quick then. Ron says, LOL, I made a goal to finish 10 series. I'm in the middle of this year, and I still have 4 to go. Yeah, it's hard with series. It can be brutal, especially if you like need a palate cleanser. I need palate cleansers between books because when I'm reading a series, it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter how much I love the books. Doesn't matter. I know, I've tried it. If I do not read a book that is different, something totally out of that universe in between the books in a series, if I love the first one and I go to read the second one, even if the second one is good, I will not enjoy it as much as I did the first one. Like I have to mix it up. Even with Terry Pratchett, I love him. Miss Starbucks says it was a lot of fun again. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hopefully, I'll probably going to end up doing this again on Monday, unless that's like too soon. I don't know whether I should do this regularly on Mondays or Fridays. Both seem to have a bit more people on tonight than I normally do on Mondays. So you all can let me know. And Kat says, maybe an ambiguous ending. Some authors can't pull it off. The Cabin at the End of the World comes to mind for me. Yes, it sure does. For me too. Oh, I did not like that book really much at all. I think in the end, I gave it like 2.5 stars, if I remember correctly. It definitely didn't get a three for me. No. Kat says, I think because there's so much ambiguity throughout the novel. It's true. Yeah. I mean, it's a very low plot book. And then on top of the low plot, you also don't know anything about what happens at the end. You're left to interpret it for yourself. It makes me wonder what they did with the movie, the knock at the cabin that they, because that was the name of the movie. And Robert says Game of Thrones, there was supposed to be two more books. Oh, well, crap. A Song of Summer and Winds of Winter. Okay. Dang it. It stinks. Well, thank you all for answering that. That was a really good conversation. I will go through here. Gotta change up. Well, look at my other screen. That's why I'm doing this. Let's see, 45. I'm gonna set my time updated to 45 minutes. And I have one more question lined up, but I can always come up with another one depending on how we feel after 45 minutes. But my next one that you can answer while we're going is do you have favorite booktube content, vlogs, reviews, hauls? I'm actually very curious because you all are my audience and I want to know like what are the things that you enjoy seeing the most? What like brings you to YouTube in general? Kat says I had a lot of unanswered questions. Me too. Miss Starbucks says, do what you feel like. I think time wise, I can't actually join the whole stream anyways. That it would be 3 p.m. here, I suppose. Haha. Yeah, no problem at all. I appreciate any time that you spend here. And Kat says, for a questioner, no good. And I question everything. So I'm glad that you do too. But I'm going to go ahead and start the timer here for everybody. And I hope you enjoy your reading. And I'll see you in a bit. All right, everybody, come on back. Let me know how you were doing with your reading or your projects tonight. I am in chapter 7, so I'm on page 64 of A Lass Away. I'm really, really enjoying this, honestly. I love the myths, and well, they're really not even myths, they're stories about like what her sixth great grandmother accomplished and learning again more about the magic system. So, come to find out with the magic in this world, there's curses, and there are people who have like special powers that were passed down to them through their lineage. So, for example, King Oberon. There's a Prince Oberon. I think it's King Oberon. But I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be like the fairy king or the fae king. It's not explained in here, but I'm familiar with that name. Um, his descendants all like inherit some level of magical ability, though with every generation, every line, the magic is diminished. So Ellie's friend Jay has the ability to produce like a will-o'-the-wisp like light that he can like walk around with in his palm. But it turns out that Ellie and her family, the magic is actually coming from their knowledge. Like they could hypothetically, theoretically teach their ability to raise the dead to anybody, but they generally don't. It's only taught to the eldest daughters in the family because it's so powerful, but it also is like really helpful, and can like save people and save the world. And so she's providing an example of like when her and her cousin were out in the forest, she was able to use her powers to save their lives and make it out, and how she's supposed to be kind of the next sixth great for her family. I think it's really interesting in here too that her character doesn't want to have children, and she like doesn't want to date or anything. So I don't know if she's supposed to be like an asexual character or an aromantic character, but she's like, yep, I don't want to date, I don't want any interest in that, and I also am not going to have kids, so it's not going to be taught to my children. So like let's teach this to somebody else in the family. And I just think that that's really cool and interesting, and you don't see that a lot. But I did ask, the question is, do you have a favorite book, booktube content, examples, vlogs, reviews, hauls? You could provide really any example. But I'm got to go back up here. And Nicole says book hauls. That's where I find books to add to my TBR. And Alicia says, I'm always looking for new books that sound interesting. So I like reviews and hauls the most. And I totally get that. Of course I can't really do hauls right now. Unfortunately, I'm hoping to be able to maybe do a small one for Christmas, because I think I'm going to probably end up getting some books gifted to me from my family for Christmas. And I did actually go through my videos. I went through my horror trope video, my sci-fi trope video, and I chose my 10 book recommendations from each of those, from like all of the ones that you all provided to me. And I also chose 5 books that like I was just interested in personally, from my TBR that I might like to receive. And I'm going to put that all in a video. So like all of that has been selected. It's just going to take a little bit of time for me to eventually get around to making that, but I'm excited about it. So I'm hoping I might be able to do like a little haul from Christmas. But the one thing to me that is hard about haul videos is you don't actually know whether the books that they're buying are good. Does that make sense? So, like when you're watching a haul, like let's say there's 10 books, well, those 10 books that person hasn't read yet. So it's not really a recommendation. It's more like these sound really interesting and that's why I bought them. But the only thing that you have to go on is the book blurb. And that is really the one main thing with hauls that I have a problem with. Like I would much more appreciate or like get recommendations from, if you will, videos where people are either talking about books that they just read and that they're recommending, or if they do like a 10 fantasy books I love, 10 sci-fi books that I love, because then I know that they read them and they actually enjoyed them, if that makes sense. But that's just me. So for my channel, at least this year, I'm of course not going to be doing haul videos, but I don't know how much that'll happen for me, but review videos will definitely happen pretty regularly. Kat says, I enjoy all the booktube content, like anything out there. I enjoy it. And Kat says, I just wish I could catch it all. And I totally agree with you. It's really it's really hard because there's so many awesome people who make content on BookTube, on YouTube in general, and I feel like I can't keep up with all of it, and then I feel like I'm not a good friend because I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know all the stuff that you're doing and I don't like get all the references. But I do care. So I hope that that at least comes off. It's like I care. I can't always like see everything. And Nicole says, I have to drive an hour and 15 minutes to the nearest bookstore. So book hauls are like browsing shelves in a way for me. And that makes perfect sense. Like if you live far away and you're like, I got to get some ideas of things I might want to read, book hauls would be really fun for that because it's like this excitement of like, these books could be really good. Like, let's see what we're going to get. And Robert says the best content involves black rose bath bombs and incorrect sugar cookie recipes. So you like vlogs then, Robert? You like the funny little vlogs I do where I end up cooking something and trying to like relax in some way. And I appreciate that. I'm glad because I have wondered before. It's like, are the vlogs engaging for people? But they're really fun. They're fun to do. It's kind of almost like a day in the life while you're also coming along with me to talk about books and like what I'm reading in that moment. And so I'm glad that you like those. I'm going to continue to do them. Like I said, I'm working on one right now. Might even cook a recipe. I might make a recipe in it too. And Kat says that's a good way of looking at it, Nicole. Yeah, I agree. And my friend Dustin with the Stover says, yes, I made it. Well, welcome, Dustin. You still have plenty of time. No worries, because we're going to do at least one more sprint, I'm sure. And Kat says, I visited with my mother in law and hubby while we ate dinner. I'm back home. Well, welcome home. I'm glad you're safe and sound. I hope you had a good time. Um, Kat says, I did have your sprints on though. Well, you're so sweet. You didn't have to do that while you were visiting with your mother in law, but I appreciate it. Ron says, I like wrap ups, weekly, monthly, weekly reads because I can hear about more books and how people liked or are liking them. Yeah, I was curious if people enjoyed the like rapid reading wrap ups that I did a couple times. I didn't do one last month just because the books that I was talking about, like pretty much all got their own like video. So it was like, there's not really a point in me doing a wrap up for these. But if they don't get their own video, it's good to know that like wrap ups are appreciated just because I can give like a quick little blurb about them. But do you like them to be quick or do you like them to be longer and like more involved wrap ups? Alex says, I'm up to page 72 and I've gotten more used to the writing style. That's awesome. I'm glad. Because it can be kind of difficult to get into some authors' writing. I find with some of them, at least in the beginning, I have to go back and I have to like reread sentences for a little while. And then I eventually am like, okay, I finally understand like the way that like the syntax and the diction and everything is structured in this book. Alex says, I'm reading Jane Allen's debut novel, by the way. I think YouTube might be flagging the title, LOL. Oh, okay. So you did post it in a comment and maybe it got removed then because I didn't see it. I didn't see that at all. So I don't know what the title is of the book, but I will have to look that up. Thank you for letting me know. Ron says, did another chapter or so in Northwoods. I've reached the turn of the 20th century. It's really good. Awesome. Having a fabulous time, everybody. Well, most people hopefully at least are tonight what they're reading. Kat says, a lot of times for my hauls, I'm looking for specific books and authors. I do pick up new ones, cover buys from time to time. Yeah, absolutely. And that makes perfect sense. And I apologize if I sounded like I was hating on book hauls. I don't. I like watching them sometimes too. I just know for some YouTubers that I've watched, they end up buying like you're talking like 30 books sometimes at a time. And they even know. So I'm not like saying anything negative about them, but in like other videos, when they do unhauls, they end up being like, well, I never read this, because it's like from this massive stack of books. Then they end up not getting to the books. And then they end up having to unhaul a bunch, but then they still buy more. And it's like, I try really, really hard not to do that, to only buy books that I'm like really interested in because I have been in a situation before where I've had books sitting on my shelves for a long time, and then I look at it and I'm like, that's not really in my taste anymore. But that's been a while since that's happened, so I'm like trying to prevent that from happening now. There's a lot of books I had bought when I was a teenager, and I'm like, this just, it's like out of fashion now. It's like it's like not my type of reading. But I like everything that I get now. But yeah, I really hope I wasn't sounding like I was hating on book hauls. So sorry about that. And Dustin says the only place I've always felt was calming was in the bookstore. I love the smell, odd, but very distinct and soothing. Problem is, I can never pick a book. Well, I agree with you that bookstores are very calming and they're generally pretty quiet. Got a coffee shop probably either inside it or like right next door that you can like grab a cup and just kind of walk around. And there are so many choices. It is really hard. And, Kat was talking about cover buys, like seeing a cover of a book and thinking it looks really interesting. Sometimes that's what you have to do. If you decide that you want to get a book and you're like, I got to just pick one, just pick one that looks really interesting, read the little blurb. And if you like it, that's your one book, and just see what happens. You also can't really go wrong with like book club picks. If you have like a specific genre of book that you like to read or like are interested in, I could probably help you because a lot of genres they have like awards, or like a book club that is associated with that genre that you can find a really good recommendation just based off of the awards that they win. Sci-fi, of course, you have like the Hugo Award, right? Um, so if you're interested in that, and fantasy too, because the Hugo Award's also for fantasy. But yeah, let me know. I might be able to help. And Alex says wrap ups are my favorite videos, followed closely by reviews. Okay, perfect. Thank you for letting me know that. And Dustin says, what are book hauls? Just go out and buy a bunch of books. Yeah, actually, Dustin, that is a very concise and apt description for what it is. It's when you go out to the store, multiple stores, and you kind of just put everything in a basket that you think sounds good and you buy it and you take it home. So you can imagine that for some people, it's a very expensive endeavor to go out and, especially if you're buying a bunch of hardback books. But yeah, it depends like for individual people though, right? Because not everybody's going to go out and buy like massive amounts of books at one time. It just kind of depends. And I think that booktubers who like that's their career is doing booktube are more likely to buy a lot of books at once than people who are just doing it for a hobby. Like hobby people probably aren't buying like 30 books. And Kat says, I also buy books from Friends of the Library store for cheap. Yeah, we also have a Friends of the Library at my local library. And I was so tempted. Oh my gosh. I've been a good noodle, guys. I have been a good noodle. I haven't bought books for myself. I have not done any of that, but oh, I was at the library yesterday and there was a copy of I think it was We Deserve Monuments is the title, but it was like this gorgeous book and it was very gently used, like to the point where it looked brand new and it was a hardcover and it was $5 and the regular price is 19. And I was like, I can't buy this. And it made me so sad. But yeah, the library has some good stuff. And Alicia says, um, Friends of the library are dangerous and I love them. Absolutely, because you could walk home with like 5 to 10 books because they're inexpensive. Robert says Reagan Peruse Project does a lot of hauls. Do you generally enjoy those, Robert? And Alicia says Friends of the Library book sale. Uh, that's it. I think is that what you were saying? Yeah, 100% Alicia. And Kat says, I have a bunch of books to haul. Yeah, no, I'll definitely check out your book haul, Kat, just because I always enjoy seeing what you get. And I know that you read them too. So that's awesome because you actually read them. And Ron says, library book sales are adding to my physical TBR on a monthly basis. Yeah, it is so dangerous. And Nicole says, Gavin reads it all. Reads It All recently did 114 book haul, August to present. That is a lot. Well, you know what? To add on to a little bit to that, again, you're talking about, I don't know if they're like a career booktuber or somebody who's like a smaller presence, a smaller creator like me. I have no idea. But there are people who read a lot faster than me too, right? So if they're going out and they're buying 100 books, but they read 200 in a year, then that isn't really that obscene. If I were to go out and read 114 books, it would take me years at my current reading rate to get through those. So that would be like an obscene number for me, right? So it's person specific too. And Dustin says, "Why aren't you buying books? $5 books, buy that." And no, it's because I'm in a no buy year, Dustin. I am in a no buy year. It started in July was my first month, and I have to go all the way to July of next year, because when I get to July of next year, I get to go to Powell's City of Books in Portland, Oregon. And guess what, guys? The trip is booked. I have like the accommodations booked, so now all we have to do is actually get the flights and to get our rental car. But we have like the hotel and everything all taken care of. So the trip is officially happening, and I could not be more excited about it. I was not lip service. I'm freaking going. I am going to Pals. And Kat says, "My latest haul video was from Friends of the Library, and I found some great Victorian literature." Well, that also makes sense because of your vlogs that you've been doing, right? Or your my brain just shut off. The, like, reading challenge? Is that a good way to describe it? The reading challenge, the Victober that you were doing? So that's really awesome that you were able to find some. Robert says, "I have books to haul away." Meaning that would be an unhaul, right, Robert? Like, you're ready to, like, get rid of some? I mean, what's nice too is like you can either donate those books to the library, and maybe the library will end up selling them, or you can sell them, depending on where you live, to like a half price books. I've done that many times in my life to get like a little bit of cash for the book. So like I wasn't at a complete loss. I have a huge stack of books to donate to my local library soon. We actually have one that will be opening nearby, and I'm waiting for them to open because I'm going to show up with this giant freaking basket of books and be like, "Here's your first donation." And it's like a wide range of stuff. I have books from like when I was a very little kid. Like, I'll show you one of these. You guys might think it's cute. So I held on to these. My mom would probably be surprised that I still have them, but I have like best loved children's stories. I have 2 books that are like this, and I decided like a while ago that I had wanted to keep them just because like they were so sentimental to me. Ooh, if I can go the right way in the camera, there we go. They were so sentimental to me when I was a kid, and I thought, oh, I could save these for one day when I have kids. But to be honest with you all, I don't think I'm probably going to end up having children, at least at this age, at this point in my life. I don't think that I probably will. And so I am very content to give these away to a library for a good cause so that like other kids can enjoy and read these the way that I did when I was younger. So donation, I recommend that too. And Kat says, "I'm actually unhauling books with a weekly giveaway on my channel during November." Oh, is that what you were talking about in your live on Wednesday? I think I missed that part. I came in late. And you were talking about adding people to a list for like spinning the wheel. So that's a book like that you're giving away from your personal collection. That's really cool. I thought that you had another author had sent you more copies of their books and you were like giving those away. So I totally missed that. I'm sorry, Kat. Dustin says, "I will buy you that book then." Which book? Oh, no, you don't need to buy that book for me, Dustin. You're so sweet. You don't need to do that. I'm very happy. I'm doing a good job right now. I'll be content with my tiny Christmas haul, whatever I end up getting from that. Keaton already told me he's gonna buy me some books from my list, so I'm really excited about that. My mom probably will too. Kat says, "Woo woo, way to go on booking your trip." I know. I'm so thrilled. I'm like beside myself. I might this is going to sound so dramatic. I might actually cry when I get to Powell. I mean, think about it. Going a whole year being a massive book lover, not buying any books, and you walk into this bookstore that's like the largest new and used bookstore in the entire world, and just finally getting like your pick of up to 24 books. I mean, like I'm going to be like a different Alex. But Alex says a local thrift store has a deal where you get a moving box and you can fill it with books for $6. So that's my downfall for a good few years. Oh my gosh. I could easily walk out with 30 plus books. That is insane. An entire moving box for $6. They must buy those books for like pennies to be able to have that and like have for that to be lucrative for a bookstore? Unless could you only pick from a certain section, or was it the entire thrift store? Or no, I guess so it's a thrift store, so they sold probably more than just books. I was sorry, my brain was thinking of like a used bookstore or going in and doing that, but it's a thrift store, so they probably had like a section specifically for books. That makes more sense. And Ron says, I put most of my discards in little free libraries. That's a great way to do it too. I have also given away books in little free libraries before, which is really fun. We have a lot of those around me. Like I have the app on my phone and I can go and I can find them. So there was one day I just had a pile of books in my passenger seat and I drove around to different ones in various neighborhoods and just boop, put them in there. That was a good time. And Kat says, great idea, Ron. Yeah, highly recommend doing that. And Dustin says the $5 book. You do not need to buy that for me, Dustin. You're so funny. And Alicia says, my friends at the library sale literally give the books away at the end of the sale, and I've walked out with more than I can carry. Oh my gosh. So pretty much if you just wait until the end of the day, whatever they didn't sell, they'll just let you take. Wow. Well, I mean, I guess if they don't have space for them, and they probably got them for free, right? So, like, yeah, that'd be nice to kind of just get them for free. And Kat says, that's awesome, Alicia. Ron says, there are a ton around me too. I just found a new one today. That's awesome. I also found a new one today. How funny. I was, because I went to a library that I don't normally go to. I don't know if you all will see this in my vlog or not. It depends on whether you're going to want to watch it, but I'll just tell you like a brief little snippet. I went and tried to go to one library in my area, showed up, and they were closed. Because they were cleaning their carpets and cleaning their windows, and I had absolutely no idea. So then I had to drive an extra 20 minutes away from my house to go to a different public library because I was determined to sit and finish there today. And I knew that it would be easier for me to do it in public where I couldn't, just lay down on the couch and fall asleep. And I did, end up finishing it. But on my way there, I saw like the little free libraries that were in people's like at the end of their driveways and stuff in the community that I drove to. And I thought it was really cool. It made me happy. So thank you all for chatting with me about that. I'm always really interested in knowing what people want to see and like what they're thinking about. That's really good to know. But I will do probably one more sprint for the evening if you all are interested in that. So, because it would be the last one for the night, we're 3 hours and 13 minutes right now into the sprint. Would you like this to be a 30-minute one or would you like it to be 45 minutes? I would be okay with either. So, just let me know. And Ron says, I was bird watching and went to a spot I hadn't been to in a year, and just up on the road there it was. That's fabulous. Did you actually go and look in it? Was there anything in there that you were interested in picking up? I like this idea of, go and leave a book and take a book kind of thing. In my community, we also have food pantries that are like that. But another unique one that actually shows up on the little free library app as well is this family that set up one that it's a seed box. So instead of books, they put like all different seeds for your garden in there if you want them. And I thought that that was really cool too. Like if you want to start your own garden or you need like some extra veggies. Kat said 30 minutes. Okay. Since you were the first one to answer, Kat, I will put 30 minutes on the clock. There we go. All right. If that is the case, I will go ahead and I will start the timer and I will see you all in a little bit. And just really quick, Ron says, "Yeah, I looked. Nothing for me in it this time. Well, maybe next time. I believe in next time." Enjoy your reading. All right, everyone, that was the last sprint. To give you an update on where I am, I made it to page 85 or chapter 9. Isn't that just like a really cool illustration? I love all of them, they're great. Still enjoying it entirely. I don't have any complaints about it yet. And I opened up my calculator because I was curious, like what percentage of the way through the book I was. And I'm just shy of a quarter. So sitting and doing sprints tonight and getting a quarter of the way through a book, I'm very pleased with that. I think it's awesome. I'm glad that you all could sit and hang out with me during that time. Um, what did you do during your last sprint? Are you kind of winding down for the evening? Because I know that I am. Ron left us. He said, I'm going to go and need to get my eyes a rest from screens. Thanks for the sprints. Totally understand. Once I get to about the 4 hour mark, my eyes also are like, whoo, screens. Totally get it. Kat said, bye, Ron. Robert said, have a great day, everyone. Alex says, I'm up to page 229. Well, you're killing it, Alex. You're doing a great job. Awesome. Dustin says, that cat scared me. I'm sorry, Pomodoro Kitty isn't supposed to scare you. It's supposed to be a soothing way to bring you back from the sprints. But yeah, if you're not used to it, then you get the meow and you're like, what the hell is that? I totally understand. And Dustin, he has a dog. He doesn't have any cats. Neither do I. But yeah, you wouldn't be used to hearing just a random meow, I'm sure. And Kat says, I did no reading. I took my shower, made some tea, and now watching an episode of What We Do in the Shadows. Well, that is a lovely way to wind down for the evening. And What We Do in the Shadows is fabulous. Keaton actually introduced me to that show, and I'm really glad that he did because it is just so funny and it brings me a lot of joy whenever I see it. And the cast is really great too, like just them as people and like their interactions. They're awesome. Alicia says, yes, Kat, I finished watching the newest season last week. I do need to catch up. Keaton's already binged it. I need to see it. Alex says, I have 130 pages left, so I'll probably keep reading all evening. It's a quick read. Well, you are just like, you're a devourer of books, Alex. And I'm very impressed by that. I hope one day that I will be able to do that as well. Me getting a quarter of the way through a book in one night, I'm happy with. Kat says, we are on episode 10. Lovely. Well, I will let you all get to it then. I really appreciate this time that you spent with me. It is always a pleasure spending these evenings with you all. Since it's Friday, I hope you have an absolutely fabulous weekend. I don't normally get to say that because I usually see you right after the weekend happen. So enjoy your weekend. I will hopefully see you next week. And until then, take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves, enjoy your time. Bye, everybody. Bye, Kat. Bye, Alex. Bye, Dustin. Bye, Alicia.